it could be evening, wherever you may be, but thank you for making the time. And we're excited to have experts and change makers on this call who'll be able to take us through what they feel this year's International Women's Day theme, how it speaks to them and how it speaks to the areas that they work in. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for joining, and happy International Women's Day 2025. Happy International Women's Day 2025. And we are going to be discussing an important topic with regards to breastfeeding rights, the workplace inclusivity, and maternal health support for women. There tends to be a lot of talk around it, a lot of writing of policies around this area. However, action sometimes is not as good. So with Accelerate Action as the theme for this year's 2025 International Women's Day, we want to have less talk and more action to be able to spark change. So I'm excited to be here. And ideally, we're discussing breastfeeding, and your host is Maziwa Breastfeeding. And we all know that breastfeeding is a human right and a public health priority. It's a priority to ensure that we have healthy mothers and productive workforce for this nation. However, there's a lot of challenges with regards to moms not being able to exclusively breastfeed their infants. Actually, when we look at the statistics, to breastfeed their infants. But when a child gets to about 4 to 5 months, the data drops to 38%. Babies are the ones who are being exclusively breastfed. That's a big drop. And the impact to the health of the child, but also to the workforce and with regards to productivity. Now, if we are serious about gender equality, we must create workplaces where women don't have to choose between their babies and at the same time advancing their careers. But many a times they tend to have to choose. So today, we're going to speak on how we accelerate this action. How can we move beyond these policies that are... But when you look at the workforce, when you ask the women what rights they have with regards to the workplace, many of them have no idea. So I want to invite our change makers, our panelists today, our leaders. We have 3 amazing women today on the call. And I want to ask you to introduce yourself, let us know what you do, and we can go from there. Even maybe share what you feel this year's theme of Accelerate Action. If I can ask Jane to start us off, that would be great. Thank you, Jane. Welcome.
Sorry, I was muted. So thank you very much, first of all, Millie, and the CAMFEB team for convening this particular webinar. How do I feel about the whole of this? Let me first introduce myself. So my name is Coach Jenny Mutisia. I've been in the HR space for a very long time, maybe for the last 15 years or so, and have seen actually women drop and come back. I'm a recruiter. I've also met very many women who tell me I had to take a gap because of motherhood and all that. So one of the biggest things that we struggle with, and it depends with what kind of woman are we talking about, is the breastfeeding. So I formed an organization called Bouncing Back to Work because of the number of women that we see coming back after having to take a break, just because of motherhood. Just because of motherhood. So there's nothing else that person has taken. So they spend that time going to school and all that. So it's a big issue. It's a big issue in terms of inclusive workspaces. And therefore, as I introduce myself today, let me say I'm a HR professional. I am a coach, and I am an advocate of supporting women to be able to balance their careers with motherhood, because motherhood is a God-given job that we have to do as women. And if you're going to talk about women staying in the space, if you're going to invest so much in taking women to school, and the women are good, we have proved they can go to the highest level of education. We have seen them work so well. But we all know when it reaches the point of them having to get children, we lose very many numbers. So that is why this particular topic is of interest to me. Back to you, Millie.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I love what you're saying, that your organization is about bouncing back to the career, back to the workplace for women. Thank you so much for joining us, Jane Mutisia. I just want to mention that we are live on LinkedIn, we're live on Instagram, we're live on Facebook. So if there's any comments that you'd like to share, please feel free to put it in the chat. Thank you so much, Jane, and I'll go to Martha.
Good morning, everyone. Morning from Kenya. Happy to be here. Thank you so much, Millie. Excited about today's event, which is International Women's Day, and what we're discussing about accelerating action. And my name's Martha Mugi. I could start there. My name's Martha Mugi from CAMFEB. CAMFEB is Career Mothers for Exclusive Breastfeeding. And what we do at CAMFEB is work with organizations to support, protect, and promote breastfeeding. And when we talk about this, we are talking about working with organizations and helping them to set up lactation spaces so that as Jane is saying, when moms are bouncing back to work, they are in a better space where they find a space to continue being supported to do exclusive breastfeeding. So that is what we do at Comfort. We advocate for breastfeeding. We champion for breastfeeding because at the end of the day, again, Millie, we also say at Comfort that for mothers, we do not need to have them choose between work and rearing their children, and therefore we need to support their productive and reproductive roles as a woman. And therefore, when we talk about accelerating action for this year, it will be very, very important for us to do that. Thank you very much, Millie. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And it's lovely to see experience working together with Mothers for Exclusive Breastfeeding and Kenya Association for Breastfeeding. And it's always lovely to be able to, come together to support, educate, and who need to know what their rights are, who need to know how do you even breastfeed and how do you do this. So Martha didn't mention that she's a lactation support counselor. So thank you so much, Martha, for being here. Mani, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself.
Well, greetings, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. My name is Hawaya Maani. I work in a social development organization named One Acre Fund, and I lead the people operations team there, which includes human resources, where a lot of our wellness programs sit. I'm really grateful to be here. I think a lot has been touched on as far as women becoming parents and not being able to sustain their roles in employment. I've also observed a different side of it, which is an element of being able to perform within the organization. And in my experience, there's very few people who wake up and say, today I do not want to perform. It's the softer issues that need to be addressed, the softer support that needs to be addressed specifically for women in terms of what they're going through, especially when they have newborn children and toddlers that they need to take care of. That the moment you touch on completely turns around the ability of women in the workplace to be able to balance the two. So I'm very happy to be here as well. I'm looking forward to the discussion that we're going to have today.
It was wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Mani. It's lovely to have each and every one of you here. You're here in your right as experts, as change makers in your area influence, and I'm excited to have you on this call. And I will introduce myself. As my name is Millie Shiro. I'm a nurse midwife and a lactation certified lactation specialist. So I deal with the most challenging and the most simple lactation issues. I tend to work in the marketplace in the area of supporting the mother, educating her, and empowering her to ensure that pregnancy journey. So I start from pregnancy all the way to breastfeeding up to 6 months and beyond. So I'm passionate about this topic of breastfeeding, and I'm excited to be here with you to talk about it and find do to ensure that the gaps that are there in terms of the policies and what the mother is experiencing in the workplace can be able to be reduced, talking about what resources are available for mothers in the workplace. And I want to ask that those who are watching us, feel free to comment, feel free to ask any questions. Again, happy International Women's Day. Now, World Economic Forum, at the rate of our progress, it's going to take us 134 years to reach full gender parity. So there's a lot of gender Now, accelerating action means that we need to increase the momentum. We need to stop talking too much, and because there's a lot of urgency in meeting the barriers and the biases that are women. So my first question is to Jane. Jane, please let us know what this theme for this year means to you. You're muted, Jane.
So the thing for this year is accelerate action for women empowerment. It could be in the economic sector, it could be in leadership, it could be whichever power, but accelerate action. So for me, what it means to me, I took that and I split it into different levels. There's at a personal level as a woman, what are you doing to accelerate your own progress? Because there are things that you must do for yourself. So what is this that you're doing as a woman to accelerate your own progress? And therefore it means you must know where or what it is that you want to do before you can accelerate. Because you do not want to accelerate to the wrong direction or to accelerate to nowhere. So the first thing is, where is this that you want to go? And then now you can increase your speed. Accelerate means speed. So at a personal level, just one thing that you want to do for yourself. It could be a skill. It could be becoming self-reliant, like I'm saying here. Maybe you're depending on people. It could be doing better things for your children. It could be improving yourself, whatever that it is. But have something that is going to accelerate your progress to the next level. Whatever that it is, grow to your next level in the different things that you look at in life. The next level could be what you're doing for the women in your community. Every woman has women in their community. So it can be your sisters, it can be in the church, it can be I don't know who, but all of us, it could be in the workplace. All of us have a chance to do things for the women that are not in our level. There are women that you can actually accelerate things for. It could be a manager, it could be women that are working below you. It could be people in your village who need to hear this more than anyone else, who need to be improved to even get where we have that we're talking about women at the workplace, who if they don't go to school, they will never see the workplace. So there's so much. We just need to be there and not leave this to the civil society. There's something that we can do as women for other women in our spaces. Don't think that if you're online and listening, don't assume you're too small to do anything. It could be for your house girl. It could be anything. All of us have something as long as you put your mind into the function of what can I do to accelerate myself and the next level. Then you can now come to the level of people who are in organizations, group together. It could be at a group of women. What do you do to accelerate your progress? It could be at the workplace. You are a line manager. You are a HR manager. You are an MD. You are the head of something. What can you do to accelerate the progress of the things that people are actually suffering with and that are curtailing their progress in whichever way in that particular space? But for the theme for today is about women maybe in careers and breastfeeding. And therefore, there's also a lot that we could do in terms of the things that affect the ladies in our departments, in the workspace as HR people, as MDs, as line managers, because you do not have to be in HR for you to do things that make women enjoy their work, not keep contemplating coming to work, or lose milk because they are not happy with the boss now. The boss is always saying you can't keep coming late and ABCD. So my theme for this year is at a personal level, even as you look to the next level, even before you go to policy, what are these small things that we can actually do that are low-hanging fruits that we can do today? Please commit to something if you're online and just do it for the people that you touch. Back to you, Billy.
Wow. Claps and claps to you. I love that, Jane. I love what you said. And I've actually learned, because many times, for one, even your last statement, we tend to think it's the HR's problem. HR are the ones who need to do the policies. HR are the ones supposed to give permission to these women to, have a lactation room. But we also have some power, even in the organization, where you can decide to be the champion. Decide to be a breastfeeding champion, that you're the one who's going to be supporting these women when they come back to the office. You are encouraging them. You've learned something about breastfeeding and how to maintain your milk supply. So you're going to teach them about expressing. So it doesn't just have to be that it's the HR. I love that. Then
let me just start
please go
something.
ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
To say that to be sustainable also, it's policy. Policy is why we talk about policies, because it makes things sustainable. It makes things live beyond you as an individual. So there's a space of things that we can do as individuals. Then there's where we really have to agitate and really ask and advocate for policies to be established. And there are people in our midst who are also in that space where their contribution is so major if they choose to take action, because then they'll touch lives beyond our generations, just coming up with policies and structures. Back to you, Mary. Millie, are you in the studio? Is it is it me or Millie?
Did I
Good.
freeze?
I don't know whether Mother and Kawaya. Yes, we
You
lost
just,
you.
I'm
Back
sorry,
to you.
yeah.
No problem.
And I will call you back to answer that with regards to the policies in the workplace and the provisions that are there for women. But I just wanted to sum up and summarize what you said, which was quite informative in terms of women also need to think about what are they doing to advance themselves personally? Are they growing their skills? So for you, in the HR space, you're thinking about accelerating action. Is think about yourself and your skills you do for yourself, as well as what can you do for your community. Wonderful. Mani, please go ahead and share what the theme of International Women's Day means to you.
I think two things come to mind for me, and they tend, from my experience, it affects both myself as an individual and how I approach life and my work and organizations, because that's where I've been through for a minute. And the first one that comes to mind is just do it. I think we inherently want to know exactly what's going to happen if we do something, but the concepts tend to be more complicated than actually just doing the work. I'm sure if you sit with an idea right now and try to figure out everything that could possibly happen so that you can plan for it, we will still be here next year trying to figure out when to start. So my first priority around accelerating action would be when something is working, when an idea has come, when you know the value that it will bring, when you know that you have the capacity to actually start working on it, just start working on it. Trying to figure it out for too long means that it remains a brilliant idea for too long as well, at the expense of the value that it could be. It could be for many, many people. The other thing for me is really just diversity of exposure. From my experience, I'm not sure people who aren't mothers or who aren't in the maternal healthcare uh, uh, profession know much about the benefits of breastfeeding if you're talking about today's specific topic for International Women's Day. So people know that mothers need to breastfeed, organizations may have a lactation room, but I don't think the knowledge of the value of having, like, what's the word, exclusive breastfeeding is extensively known across the people who make decisions around this. So again,
Absolutely.
accelerating exposure beyond mothers and to everyone who might play a role into how possible it is to support mothers in the workplace would be really, really critical to accelerate action for me.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much, Mani. I'm not even going to summarize. You've said it so well. And lastly, I'm going to ask Martha, Executive Director of CAMFEB, what does the theme of this year's International Women's Day mean to you? You're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Millie. I think for me, this year's theme is really, really important, because when we talk about accelerate action, is because I think we are not yet doing what is supposed to be done when it comes to breastfeeding spaces, when it comes to breastfeeding working mothers, and that is both the formal and informal spaces. In Kenya, we have very main policies, we have good policies, but at the end of the day, is there action? Is there implementation happening behind those policies? This means that we need to accelerate and action these policies, so that by the time any woman is going back to work, they are supported. Personally, I always give my story. When I went back to work, and I really wanted to do exclusive breastfeeding, I did not have that space, and I could go just into a certain store, very dusty, lock myself in there, express that breast milk. When I have it, I used to place it somewhere on the floor because it's a bit cooler, and because I was very, very determined to do exclusive breastfeeding, because also the Ministry of Health was doing a lot of sensitization about exclusive breastfeeding. This is my second child, and actually, that is how CAMFEB was born, due to the challenges I faced, that lack of support when it comes to supporting working mothers isn't there. We are not accelerating that action. And this comes in even when we talk about as an employer, what are you doing to support that lactating mom? Even if it is just one mother. Sometimes I say you could feel that I only have one lactating mom as an employer once in every very long while. And so I might not need that lactation space somewhere. But if we look at it, it is one mom in every other organization. We could find that maybe 1,000, 2,000 women are not being supported because, again, when you go back to work and there isn't that support, we are then having a challenge for supporting the moms well. So about accelerating this action, we need to take action. As the Ministry of Health, what are we doing? What is the Ministry of Health doing in terms when it comes to implementation of these policies? As an employer, because it's a policy, what are you doing about it? Do you feel that maybe it is not very important to set up a lactation space for this mom? And everybody else has a role to play, even as a colleague. Maybe if you're a line manager, how are you playing your role to accelerate these actions so that to ensure, because when we're talking about breastfeeding, it's about supporting these moms when they come back to work, and everybody has a role to play. And so for me, these when you talk about now to this year's theme, it is very, very important to me that how I wish we will do better to accelerate action and make sure that we are supporting these lactating moms. And also, as an individual, even now, we talked about like Kenya Association for Breastfeeding, CAMFEB, we offer education. As an employer, are you also willing to educate moms on to know what they are supposed to do when they come back to work? Because also information is really, really important. So I hope that we can all come together and accelerate this action so that these moms are able to be supported and supported fully, not partially. And at the end of the day, we will have a healthier nation. We will also promote gender equality when it comes to working together and working towards supporting these lactating moms. Over to you, Millie. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Martha. I think you have said it so well. And many times there's a lot of bias and there's lack of progress because organizations think it's expensive. It's expensive to have a lactation space. And the other thing you've alluded to, you have only one employee who's a lactating mom. Do I really necessarily need to go ahead and start making up a lactation space for this mother? But as you've mentioned, Martha, there'll be many other moms, one in different organizations, leading up to 1,000 moms with infants who have either had to start being given breast milk substitutes because their mothers are not being able to produce milk. And we also forget about the moms who are in formal settlements who have to go back to work, the mama fuas, the mama mbogas, the street sellers. Who takes care of them? So Mani also alluded to training and ensuring that it's not only the HR, even the decision makers need to be trained. All levels of staff need to be trained on why it's important to support these moms and how to actually support these moms. So my next question is going to be to Jane. And being that you're a coach, you're an influencer in the HR space, what do you believe are the key reasons for the gap between the words and the action? Now, before you speak, I want to mention that there was a Health Act of 2017, Section 71 and 72, that mandates 1 hour of protected time. And this is an extra hour on top of the mom's lunch break to be able to breastfeed their babies, express their milk while they're at work. Now, is this being done? Moms, I support, one, don't even know that they have that right. They don't know that, oh my gosh, really, I'm allowed to express or go and breastfeed my baby during lunchtime. And I usually tell them it can be 2 slots of 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at lunch, or it could be 3 20-minute slots. Now, for you, Jane, what can you say is the cause of these gaps, and what can your HR counterparts and employers do to support these moms in the workplace?
My view about that is a bit controversial, but I'll start with the good part. The good part is we have very many organizations where we have women who, like you said, we have different cadres of women in different cadres of organizations. So if you're working for a place like where Kahoya works, you'll have a certain caliber of women who maybe even have a car and can even have a fridge for the car. So in the evening they'll come, the whole day they can express their milk, put in a freezer in the office in the lactation room, and in the evening they'll take the milk and transfer to the small freezer in the car, take home to the baby. They can afford even a machine. I don't know what's in that most lactation rooms, whether everybody has to come with their machine for expression, which is also a huge cost. If you look at the cost of lactation machines, it's not something that every woman is going to afford. We have different cadres of people that are going to do that. Also, remember, for you to express, especially after maybe you have gone back to work and you have done like 3 months, you have done more than, it's now maybe month 3, your reduction also, your milk production also reduces. And there's still a stigma. Ametoka kukamua, huh? You're from milking. There's also a stigma around the whole thing. So we really have to look at this in the context of Africa, because and I've seen where we don't have the lactation rooms also. In one place, I was doing an assignment, and a woman had just come back from maternity, and so we were doing an assignment there for 3 weeks. So she had just come from maternity. Actually, she had gone for 9 months, not the 3 months you're talking about. She had been home for 9 months because she took a period of unpaid leave, just to ensure her baby breastfeeds, but she was still having milk and having, of course, breast pains because of the milk and the reduced frequency of breastfeeding the baby. So she had her milk pump. They didn't have a lactation room, and therefore every lunch she would go to her car and express from there. So I'm not even every lunch hour, even in between, she will take breaks that I can't take. Nimekunywa chai mingi, I cannot take this anymore. So she goes to the car, she expresses, and she told me that there were so many women in that organization that actually go to the toilet. So you're wondering, why is someone taking so long in the loo? It is because they're actually expressing the milk, and they're not expressing it to anything. It's to the toilet bowl. And they can't do the sink because they're like going to be found there, and it's a bit, it's a private affair. It will be gross. So it's such an important thing for us to have that lactation room. If you're here and you're listening, and you have the impact to even influence anyone in your office, even if you're not in HR. It's only that people don't talk about this. I was shocked that particular day when that lady opened up, and I think the HR the following day had a commission, and they had a lactation room and all that. When we learned that it is true, people have been doing this, and even for us saying that I go to the car and I've had to tint my car. So it is not a cheap affair. It is not a cheap affair. So most women will choose now to just stop breastfeeding. But now, when you come to the other cadre of women, these are women now I'm talking of those who have cars. They can have a fridge in the car. You have done this the whole day during the day, but you can now put because there are times that you take 3 hours on the traffic in a matatu. I don't know by the time you get home whether the milk is still okay or not okay to feed your baby. I have no clue. I would be a bit hesitant for me if it was in the fridge the whole morning, maybe the was Saba and all that, and now I'm getting home around 7. My boobs are full already. So I don't know the logistics of that. So I would want us, if we are really serious about this as HR people, as line managers, as women advocates, then we think about the context of who we are, just like the crèche. I know there are those of us who say, can we have a crèche for those who can bring their kids to work? I have 4 children, and I live the other side of town, and I don't have a car. Do I bring all those kids with me to the office, or what happens? So our solutions have to be African-based. They have to be in the context of Africa, and they have to be in the context of the women that we're dealing with. You can have a lactation room that nobody will ever use, because then I'm asking myself so many questions. And what I'm not saying is bad. I'm just saying we have to by the time we say it is not happening, we really have to contextualize. But let me also say it is so important that we comply with the law. Very important that we have that lactation room, and you keep it in the freezer. It doesn't have to be a big room, just a small room, because like someone, I think it was Kahoya, who said that people will ask you to be just once. That once is like having different things like Muslims in your office. It is so important that you have a prayer room, whether it is 1 or 2, or for now you have no one, but in the future you might employ one. Respect them and just have a prayer room for them. So the same thing that I tell employers, if as long as we're employing women, one time you'll have a woman coming back from maternity. She may not openly talk about this, but she'll be going through pains of, swollen boobs, can get even mastitis and other things because of that. They have nowhere to express. They have no car, and they have no private space.
That's wonderful, Jane.
So the gap could be from the cost of it, employers thinking that maybe there's no people to use, or 2, it's one woman in a while. We stay for so long before getting someone to do a PCT. And also maybe when they have the room, maybe nobody uses. But I want to imagine when women just come in from maternity, even if they are whichever cadre, at least the first 2 weeks, the first 1 month, they'll actually go there and just leave themselves, even if it did not get the baby. It may not get the breastfeeding mandate that mother is very passionate about and all of us are very passionate about, but at least they will not have to suffer, because these women suffer even if the milk will not get the baby. Back to you, Megan.
Let me tell you, Jane, thank you so much. Women suffer. It's when you've shared your ideas, it reminded me of a time I had to travel to Mombasa just for one day. I had a small baby and I left her. She was probably 4 months. And I went for a meeting that I could not miss. And I was at the airport coming back to Nairobi, and my breasts were engorged. They're so full, I'm feeling even sick. I'm like, what am I going to do? Okay, I had gone with a breast pump and I'd said I'm going to pump. And I looked for somewhere to sit and pump, somewhere where there's, okay, is there a lactation room? No, there's no lactation room. Where can I go and have some privacy and express my milk? I had to go into the cubicle of the toilet, hang my bag, remove my breast pump, connect it onto me, and I start pumping. And as you've said, you're not going to do it in the sink because there are people coming in and out. So first, you've exposed your breast. Number two, they'll be like, ew, what is that you're dropping into the sink? You know, maybe you're taking space to wash hands. So I had to do it in the cubicle of the toilet, then come out, and I had to pour the milk into the sink. I didn't do it in the toilet. I don't know why, but I poured it into the sink. But that tells you women suffer. You're expressing because you have to. You're going to get sick because your breasts are going to feel like they're going to explode. But you've also mentioned something there, that moms may have a lactation room and also not use it. Martha, why do you think they would not use their lactation room? They're lactating. Is it a cultural issue? Is it they're looked at differently by their male counterparts or other women? Why wouldn't they use that space?
Thank you so much, Millie. Some of these challenges, when you find that you have a lactation room and the moms are not using this lactation room, sometimes it could be, yes, cultural beliefs, or maybe lack of information why it's really important for us to do exclusive breastfeeding. And that's why we are talking about supporting lactating moms, or rather every other person, to understand, give them education, sensitize them in terms of breastfeeding matters, so that when we have that lactation room, we do not have barriers when it comes to using that lactation room. You'll find that maybe I may want to use that lactation room, but I have a very harsh line manager. And so I'd rather choose my peace and leave out going to the room. And so it is very important for us to train everybody and understand why is it really, really important for us. Then again, when it comes to also not using the lactation room, also it also depends on the setup, because assuming you're in the informal setup, that space has a lactation room, it has a fridge. But then again, if I have a lactating mom who is not from a humble background, they might not have a fridge back at home. And so they will wonder, assuming I express breast milk here, because there are many options other than using a breast pump. You can also hand express, which is very efficient. Yes, assuming they can even hand express, they have that information. But when I express this breast milk, what do I do with it? When I go back home, I do not have a fridge. I will not maybe take my milk to a neighbor. So what information, maybe what are some of the innovations that are there around me storing that breast milk and it being okay for my child to take it the following day? So there are so many barriers when it comes to not using that lactation room. And that is why education is really, really important when it comes to breastfeeding matters, because you could just have a room there, but then again, it's just a pretty room and without any information or even practical help when it comes to being supported to do that exclusive breastfeeding. So there are many barriers when it comes to that. And when everybody is on the same page, then we are able to do that. And also for organizations, if you're in a position to support your lactating moms, do so. If it means maybe even providing breast pumps, through people like Maziwa, who have that facility. Then if your organization is able to do that, then that is good, because you could set up, invest a lot in a lactation room, but then again, it's not being used. So there are so many barriers around it, and if we are able to address them, then we could have the uptake in that. Thank you.
Can I add something, Millie, to what Mother is saying?
For sure. Go ahead.
Mother, when you're speaking, what came to my mind is actually even most HR people are doing it for compliance. They're not
Mhm.
doing it because of the breastfeeding. They may not be doing it because of the benefits of breastfeeding the baby, and therefore, I think you're standing in a very good gap. Just educating. Don't assume it's just for the women. These policymakers. So as we will be there saying we have a lactation room, but nobody's connecting the why with that what. Nobody's connecting why are we. So maybe the conversation should be like, for all our mothers, we want your children to be able to be ABCD, so that they understand it is not just a lactation room, it is so that your baby ABCD. So there's a whole mindset
Absolutely.
in the HR community and to the people that actually respond for setting up these rooms in the office. Back to you, and thank you, Mother, for that.
Thank you. Thank you,
There's a shift
Jane,
for
and
me.
thank you.
There's a shift a bit for me up right there.
Good. Well done, Martha, for speaking. We're educating one woman at a time. And Mani, I want you to come back into this chat, and I want you to discuss about 1 Acre Fund that seems to be walking the talk. Is not just talking, but is actually putting action, because Maziwa was able to have a pilot study, Maziwa corporate package, and they were offering, or maybe you can let me hear from Mani. I want to hear your experience.
Yes, I think I'm very privileged to be in an organization that has very, very clear diversity, equity, and inclusion priorities. So I had the privilege that the tone was set on the top. And so I didn't need to do so much convincing in terms of how do we support other people who don't have generic needs within the organization. So we already had a lot of policies in place, including the lactation room, providing extra time above the legal maternity leave for parents who are going to be parents again or new parents, flexible work arrangements when they come back to work, and so on and so forth. But what we hadn't really touched on was the mechanics of lactating. Like, it's good to have the room, but if there's no resources, be it information or the breast pumps or whatever people need to actually use the rooms, then they wouldn't be as effective as we would think. We also have very diverse categories of staff. Some of them don't have offices to go to. They work in the field. So it's a lot harder to provide support there, because we can't follow them providing a nursing room wherever they're going to do their work. And so partnering with Maziwa was a huge win for us. It was an engagement where Maziwa provided us with breast pumps and coolers and a lot of training for our teams, so that we can be able to provide beyond that, the lactating rooms or the flexible hours, to provide more support to our returning mothers from across all the areas that we work in. And I think, first of all, my biggest appreciation for the plan was like the design of the breast pump allowed for, like, I'm sure there are different types of breast pumps. This one allowed for, what's it called? I'm not going to call it decency, but you don't need to hide so much to be able to use it, is what I mean. Providing coolers, that meant that we are now able to support people who do not necessarily have to report to an office, to actually also be supported to alleviate some of the discomfort that you've talked about. I think one of the key feedback that we got after this process was there were people who had to carry multiple clothes during the day because they had to change their clothes because they did not have any channel for addressing their lactating needs. Lots of people couldn't concentrate because they're either busy thinking about the discomfort they're facing or their child. And I think of all the milks in the world, let me try to be funny, a mother's milk is the most valuable. So even the concept of throwing away, it's not the most wonderful thought to have, essentially. And so we did the pilot for it was, I think, 5 to 6 months, essentially. Lots of training, lots of change management as well, because from a cultural perspective, not many people want to talk about breastfeeding and the challenges that come with being a parent to a newborn. Lots of concerns about privacy as well, so we had to also alleviate that. But once we had teams sign on and participate and learn how to use the breast pumps, I'll talk about another cultural thing that maybe we need to spread is sometimes the tools that are provided for parents to make their life easier is interpreted as being lazy and not doing things naturally. So even just convincing people that using breast pumps is still being a good parent is a really critical thing from an education perspective. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Once they signed on, there was a lot. I think our organization had the most participation for the pilot program that Maziwa was doing. As an organization, specifically in Kenya, which is where I lead the operations, we have a variety of wellness programs so that we can reach as many people as possible. But last year we had a strategy meeting, and I was just asking teams who are in our HR focus group what they most appreciated, and it was the Maziwa breastfeeding program that was remembered. They could have remembered the financial wellness and whatnot. It was Maziwa that was remembered. I was very surprised. So it has made a very huge impact. Now, I'll say selfishly from an HR perspective, being able to support people in the field and saying that we are supporting consistently across, regardless of who someone is, was something that we really needed to figure out, and the program helps us to figure that out. But as an individual and as a woman in the community and as someone who speaks to other women, seeing the impact, seeing people saying that I don't need to run back home all the time, I don't need to sneak out, I don't need to change my clothes every few minutes because I am struggling, is the bigger impact that I think I will take with me moving forward. So I'll pass my gratitude to the Maziwa team for expanding our options for how to support our team. But yeah, lots of good things came out of it, and I'm truly grateful that we were able to participate in that program.
Yeah. That's wonderful, Mani, and just to know that the program ensured that the mothers felt seen, they felt heard, they performed better. I was informed that the Net Promoter Score, which is the satisfaction score for the company, was at 53% before this pilot, and then after it went to 100%. What a score! What a score, Mani. And that's just because you were able to partner with Maziwa to ensure that the women feel supported, and then they're able to perform and do the work that they need to do and do it well. So I'm excited for that. And thank you so much for sharing in depth about the program and the impact to not only you, but also to the employee. So to Martha, under ComFib, what are some of the actions that employers can take? I know you have mentioned some of these, but they need to partner with organizations such as yours, such as experts such as lactation educators who can come in, train not only the women, but also the male counterparts. The decision makers tend to be male. They need to be informed, why are we doing this? Why can't the mother just go breastfeed at home and leave the milk at home? The mother will continue lactating. And Jane mentioned that breast milk reduces at 3 months. Does it really? Or is it because the one biological unit that was mom and baby constantly together, that biological unit is now separated? And we know that breast milk is demand supply. So it happens that at 3 months, when mom is going back to work, she's away from her baby longer. And what happens, Jane? Her milk supply will dip because nature abhors waste. The body will realize, actually, we're overproducing and the milk is not being taken out, so let's reduce the supply. So that's what tends to happen, but it's not cut and paste that 3 months, boom, the milk supply reduces. Now, ComFib is doing...
I've breastfed for 4 years with no reduction. So I meant is when they come back to work. Yes, when they come back to work, when you're not breastfeeding and you're not expressing.
Mm-hmm.
It will get reduced. That's what I meant. So if you don't have
Okay.
the lactation room and they're not expressing, then naturally their milk will reduce. So the time that they have no supply for the baby. That's what I meant, just to give a
Oh,
disclaimer.
that's what you. Okay.
Which I
Okay.
have done exclusive breastfeeding, and even when after the 6 months, I have breastfed for years, and without any reduction per se.
Yes. Okay, super. Congratulations. Well done. You deserve flowers and many claps for that success. We're usually told World Health Organization wants us to breastfeed exclusively for 6 months and up to 2 years and beyond. Your beyond is 4 years. Well done, girl. Well done. You deserve flowers. Now, Martha, I'd love for you to speak about your work in CAMFEB and how these organizations can be successful in providing spaces for their women to be able to breastfeed and express their milk to ensure that the baby continues to exclusively breastfeed for up to 6 months and beyond. Go ahead, Martha.
Thank you very much, Millie. At CAMFEB had mentioned that what we do is work with organizations and assist them in setting up a breastfeeding friendly workplace. And there is also there's the issue of setting up these lactation spaces are a bit expensive, which sometimes is not the case because we have very many options when it comes to supporting lactating moms. We have organizations that, yes, they would afford a whole space, a room that they can set up a very good and comfortable lactation space. There are organizations who may not have that space to do so. And so at CAMFEB, we've come up with ways in how that all organizations are able to support the lactating moms and also comply with the law. And at CAMFEB, we have something that we call a lactation pod. A lactation pod is a very, it's somewhere that a mom is able to go in, have that privacy, is able to sit down, express breast milk, and also have it stored in a fridge. And so this lactation pod ideally does not take a lot of space, and it would occupy very, very, very little space at the corner of your office somewhere for those lactating moms. We have very many other options. We have we've been working on a project that is creating these lactation spaces in schools. We all know that our schools do not have a the luxury of space. And what we did is that we innovated and we came up with a makeshift sink with a stand, which is now acts as a screen, which will give the mother a private space. And in it there is a fridge, there is a seat, and also a table and a dustbin. And when you have all that with the makeshift sink, that mother is already supported. So ideally, we cannot say that we are not in a position to support lactating moms because it is very expensive. And also we need to consider that as a one-off cost, that at the end of the day, we need to invest. We need to invest in breastfeeding because also we know that the cost of not breastfeeding is actually a bit, it's actually very, very expensive. And so when we support these lactating moms with this kind of solutions, if you have a space that you can do that, well and good. If you do not have, there are options for that, and we are able to engage with you and see what is the best possible solution. When we talk about these lactation spaces, we also help organizations come up with the lactation policies, because then when you have a lactation room and you have nothing governing that lactation room, then it might mean that maybe the lactating mom does not know her rights very well. Maybe the administration and the colleagues do not really understand how to support this lactating mom. And so even coming up with a lactation policy, it's very important, and everybody will be protected when it comes to these lactation issues. Sorry, let me not call them issues, lactation support. So it is, we also organize, when we set up a lactation room, we also provide a lactation policy that will govern that. We are also in a position to do monitoring and evaluation. As our 1 Acre Fund said, that by the time they started, they were maybe at 50%, but right now they are at 100%. That is very important for organizations to know and understand, where are you at? How are you moving when it comes to this kind of support? It's just not support, but is it having any impact? And also, we say there's some parents or some moms who are not able to afford a breast pump. This is where also education comes in. We offer sensitization when it comes to lactation matters, and information such as you can do hand expression. Maybe a mom did not know or understand, then they are able to know that I really do not have to invest in breast pump. But on the other hand, we are really encouraging organizations that are able to come in, step up, and assist these lactating moms to actually purchase a breast pump on their behalf. Because also we are saying we do not want to invest in a lactation room, but then again, it is not being used. So it is very important for also organizations to come. We also work with organizations where there are those kind of packages that the moms are supported. You find some organization, they will even give some delivery packages. They will support lactating moms when they come back to work. They give them that package. So that is very important. And so that is what we do at CAMFEB. We give a wholesome program when it comes to supporting and creating a breastfeeding friendly workplace. Thank you very much, Millie.
Wow, you do such an amazing job, and I'm so grateful to be able to call you a colleague and a friend, Martha. And I think, as what you've said, it's time to start recognizing organizations that are supporting breastfeeding mothers. I think it would be important to start giving them incentives to continue doing that. If there are organizations giving packages to mothers who are returning back to work and they're lactating, just to help them with their journey and improve it and make it easier and manageable, that is fantastic. We're about to finish, but I can't even believe how fast time goes. I just want to ask Jane, what your thoughts are with this hybrid work and flexi hours as a HR professional, as a HR expert. What's your take with that? Because many women hope to get the hybrid working times, that they don't have to go to work too early, leave too late, but it's not always as we think it should be when they go back to work. It changes within a short time.
I would say it's the easiest way to allow women flex. It's the easiest way to allow women to come back to work. I call it recover the time.
Flexi hours, yes.
I've worked even before COVID. I've worked in an organization where women would be allowed. At some point, it used to be for managers, but there are times that breastfeeding mothers would be allowed to work less hours. Maybe instead of doing 40, you do 30, and you do 35, 36, and therefore you can come in early. You can come in late and leave early. And now with COVID, really, we all know it's possible. So I keep challenging managers who don't allow pregnant women who are heavy in their last trimester, and maybe they're doing other things too. Why are you not allowing her to just be able to work from home as long as she can deliver? It's just the location that has changed, no? Those who are coming back, sometimes not even about breastfeeding. It could be anything. It could even be you have a child that you're not able to live with under the care of someone else because maybe they have some special concerns or something. But this woman is able to manage her time as long as you allow her to work when she has an eye to the family, to the child, and to work. She's able to manage just that. So I can't really try and emphasize enough that if you're a manager, if you're an organization, COVID showed us that we could actually do this, even just a blend of they can come half day and then maybe go home if it works. Because again, when you leave home, coming to the office, getting back home, especially for the lower cadre of women, if you're not driving, it's too much work also. By the time you get home, you are too tired to even do anything. So I think for me to be going back to the basics, provide them with internet or let them sort their own internet at the least. They can choose what to do. I'm not talking about the big organizations that are not struggling with money because we have women in all these careers, like I said. We have women in all these organizations, but most of them can actually work from home. We can always be able to accommodate, but it starts with the mindset.
Yeah.
It starts with the mindset. If we hear the gospel of mother, that it's because the baby needs to breastfeed, then people will actually accommodate other women more, or other women more in their workspaces. So there's a woman whose job involves traveling. You're supposed to, you live in Nairobi, you're supporting communities in Turkana. You're supposed to go to Makweni, I don't know where, once in a week or twice in a week, or even for 2 weeks before you come back home. If you go away for 2 weeks, really, me as your manager, I'm telling you, I'm done with you breastfeeding your baby. Unless if I'm telling you can travel with your baby, you know. And there's a need that the baby can travel. If I'm going to Turkana and my baby is too small, I'll be thinking twice. Am I going to go with my baby ABCD? So I've worked where even we had policies of if you can't travel until your baby is 1 year, and even when you're traveling, we'll take care of your house girl and ABCD at the very least in terms of booking travel and the accommodation when you go to wherever you're going. So if and one of the things, and I like saying this about the media houses most of the time, where you find maybe you have to read news top of the hour or even midnight. But there was a man who could have done that. So if you change the mindset, you realize that you could have given the man the work that demands all those hours, and then you're able to do what can be done back office, either at home or even early hours of the day and all that. So, and it's just for a year. It's just for a year, or maybe you can even use the 6 months that mother wants us to ensure we have exclusive. Just those 6 months. Atakama saba. During that time, if we change our mindset, I want to believe all of us can actually accommodate very many women, and enough children will be able to go through the exclusive breastfeed. And very many women also have the space, the peace of mind to sit and be productive. Back to you, Mary.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Jane. They need to change their mindset. And I want to ask Mani what your action would be. What's your call to action to those who may be viewing us at this moment, for those that we want to impart? So they're healthcare professionals, we have mothers, we have HR professionals. What would your call to action be for them?
I think should go back to what I said at the beginning. My call to action, my first call to action is if your knowledge about maternal health and lactating mothers is very generic and probably just aligned to a policy or a news article that you read, invest in learning more, right? The second layer is actually from a what's the word? From a professional perspective, it is expensive sometimes to implement certain things, but you don't need to implement yourself. So the other call to action is explore innovative ways to still bring the value you want to bring without limiting yourself to what you can do as an individual or as an organization. There are many partnership opportunities out there. You just need to look for them. So essentially, this is where together we can achieve more. So if you're called to do something about this today, in addition to thinking about what you can do, also think about who can I partner with to make this happen now, in line with the theme. But that's all from me as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mani. And definitely partnership is key, because we can collaborate and have different stakeholders to ensure that these mothers are supported in the workplace and are successful in bringing up healthy children. Martha, your parting shot, your call to action.
Thank you, Millie. And to go back just a bit, is that yes, there are organizations that are really doing great. Currently, we're working with an organization that is offering a whole package, from a delivery package, a lactation package, which includes a breast pump, it includes breast pads, everything to do with lactation, and even offering a fridge to those who do not have a fridge. And so,
Wow.
yes, yeah, we have organizations that are really going out there and supporting these lactating moms. And for me is to say to the moms that you are doing a good job. Continue doing it, and happy International Women's Day. What we do is not easy, and especially when it comes to balancing work and rearing our children. So moms, well done. You are doing a great job. To the policymakers, I would wish that we can accelerate, especially Ministry of Health, accelerate implementation for these good policies that we have. So at the end of the day, everybody is compliant and is supporting these lactating moms. And to the employers, let's create these spaces. The buck stops at us. Let us create these lactation spaces. Let us accelerate action as this year's theme is telling us. And at the end of the day, we will have a happy mom, a healthy nation, a very healthy baby. And so let's work together, accelerate action, and support breastfeeding moms. And also partner with organizations that are offering these kind of services to ensure that these spaces are breastfeeding friendly workplaces. People like Maziwa, who are offering breast pumps, like 1 acre fund. It's amazing. 100% uptake. That is amazing. So let us partner and see what we can do to support lactating moms. Thank you very much, Millie.
Thank you so much, ladies. I am excited to have been able to host and moderate this session. You have spoken in your areas of impact, areas of influence, and I want to encourage everyone to just know your rights in the workplace, know your rights as a mom, because we see you, we hear you, we have experienced what you experience in the workplace. For those who are mothers and have had to go through breastfeeding and lactation and having to balance their career and supporting their families at home, you are seeing. And we want to ensure that accelerating action for this year is that many of the policies will come out from being on paper. There will be less talk and more action. So I'm excited that we are having experienced International Women's Day today. Thank you, Martha, so much from Career Mothers for exclusively breastfeeding. Thank you, Mani, as the Director of People Operations in 1 Acre Fund. And I want to thank Jane Mutisia, the founder, as well as a HR coach. Thank you for sharing your insights with me, and thank you for such a wonderful interactive session. Take care and happy International Women's Day.
International Women's Day to you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.